shaking, y'all. Golden Mike, episode 117. This is what we're talking about today. It is not two Asians playing online video games today. We're going deep. Well, we are going to play online video games after this. We are going deep. We are talking about your best self, and we're not talking about this like these bullshit like Instagram things about you becoming your best self. We actually have a shaman ding dong with us today, Kris Cruz Valeriano. Let me tell you about our guest. Our guest used to be my intern, who when I was working at the institution I was probably the latest person in the world, except for this guy. There's only one person I could fire, and it was you. It was you. But more than that, we used to talk like in between setting up retreats, in between doing movies, in between all the projects that we had. Chris and I, as Filipinos, I remember we were talking about this last time we met, man, that we were talking about suffering, and we were talking about if someone can choose their body, why the hell would they choose a body of suffering? Now, what's funny is 20 years later, Chris is here. Shaman ding dong. I'm sure you've taken shit tons of ayahuasca. It looks like you've got a keyboard. This guy's a creative. He's a professional artist, martial artist, and a shaman who's here to talk to us today. Not only about manifestation, but also getting on your spiritual journey. Now, I've heard this word. I'm sorry, shaman. I've heard this word spiritual journey so many fucking times that like it is like over and like it's the same damn thing over and over again. So I want you to crack me open and give me some new insight on what this term spiritual path means in alignment. I've heard it so many times. Let's go there. Before we go and talk to Chris, for those of you who haven't met me, Marc Cordon, I've done 117 episodes. Chris, do you know why I've done 117 episodes?
Because you can't be shut down.
Because I can't be shut down. He still and I are on the same page, son. I can't be shut down. I produce this show. Be Live. I cannot wait to get out of this contract with you. 20 days. We're going over to Ecamm Live after this. Also, at the same time, it's folks like Chris who makes this happen. It's folks like you who are going to be watching. So make sure you interact with us. And this is the way we're going to start. I'm a positive psychologist. I'm the founder of Make Money Coaching, and I'm the chief disruptive officer for a program called the Joy Revolution. But most important is on a daily basis, I get to ask multiple people, including myself, how happy are you today? Mm-hmm. And then number two, are you living life with full meaning and purpose? Y'all get ready to hit your buttons. Chris, I got the question for you, bro. It's a double-barreled question. We learned that at Emory University School of Public Health.
Let's go.
One of the few things before that school, your school got shut down, your program got shut down. They couldn't handle Chris.
Right.
Chris, are you feeling happy and living life to its full purpose today?
Yes. Utmost potential. So happy. I actually don't believe I could be happier, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I know you can call bullshit when you see people and hear people say that, but honestly, I think specifically in preparation for a lot of the messages we're about to share today, I don't think I could be happier or more moved or more motivated. So I can't wait to share what we have to share with everybody.
Man, I try to crack jokes with you so much, Chris, and then you get real like that, and like I got to get out of character, but I'm not yet gonna get out of character, because for those of you who are loving life like Chris, for those of you who are living life in full purpose like Chris, there's a button down there. ATL, put up that heart, hit that heart button for us. Let us know you're alive. Let us know that heart is beating. Yeah, I see you, Haley. I see you.
What's up, Haley?
You're woke. Haley Robinson's woke. It's good to see you. Hit that heart. Let us know that you're alive, living life in full purpose, happy right now. Yes. Here's another thing. A lot of people think that positive psychology is 24/7, shits and giggles. You could probably finish these lines, son. Mm-hmm. Skittles raining from the sky. We're riding on Pegasus across the happiness land, right?
Yes.
Let's see who else we got here. Evie, it's good to see you. Evie Pete is up in here loving life. and that it's all about being happy 24/7. My boy Tal Ben Shahar says it best. There's two things that happen when you're happy 24/7. Number one, you're dead, and number two, you're a sociopath. Joy and positive psychology is not about being happy 24/7. It's about experiencing the ups, the downs, the all-arounds of life, the gains, the losses, the illusion of this all, breaking the illusion of this all. And then the thing at the end of the day is how much resilience do you have to push through this? So you could be sitting here right now and saying, yo, Valeriano, Cordon, last week I was sitting here and I was happy as a clam. I didn't know that clams were happy, Valeriano. Maybe you was a clam and
I'm sure they are living easy lives, just
from
filtering.
From the times you took ayahuasca and talked to clams, I don't know how happy they are. But like, I'm happy as a clam and like it's off, right?
Oh my gosh.
You could be sitting there to yourself saying, yo, I was living in purpose. I was getting meaning from a relationship, from a job, and all of a sudden it's off. It's off, and I don't know why. I didn't change anything, Valeriano.
Right.
It's off. I don't know what's going on. That is cool. Your heart beats just like everybody else's, just like Valeriano and mine. This is part of your story. If you're feeling that, if you're feeling like something's off, let Kris and I just simply entertain you today. Just let it wash over, and you never know what will hit you. Give us a thumbs up to let us know that you're living life. Melanie Klein, I see what's up. You gave us a thumbs up. Love you, mama. So let's go and talk about the third thing. The third thing is huge. I've seen Kris make this face multiple times, so get your fingers ready. There's another button down there. It's called the wow face. Hold on, son. Hold on, son. Don't you come out of the gate quick on me. The wow face represents this. It represents hope. Premature wow facer. It represents hope. It represents optimism. And the thing is optimism and hope have been found to be as powerful as IQ and EQ. So what does that mean? What does that mean? If you're having a 1 or a 2, if yesterday was a 10, it doesn't matter. As long as you know that today is going to be even better than yesterday. Kris Valeriano, if for those of you who are feeling it, those of you feeling the wow face today, Valeriano's going to show you how it's done right now. Show us. Yeah. Wow. Ouch, that hurt. Beat my nipples.
Let's go.
With that said, Herman, it's good to see you. With all of that said, let's get to this. Let's get to this path. Let's get to this manifestation. But more importantly, I want to know, what's your story, son?
Let's go, man. So you guys may not know, but Marc and I go way back. Marc was like my bigger brother, and in Filipino we call kuya. That means bigger brother. He was my boss. You give credence to the elders. We pay attention to the elders. So first and foremost, definitely a thank you to all the teachers and elders that have come across our path, from anthropology professors, from gurus, from Southeast Asia, from shamans who are of Native American and Hawaiian descent, Filipino. You're going to hear knowledge from all of these people. So the first thing that you must always do, including knowledge gained from parents, is give credence where it's due. And with that being said, I'm Kris, and I'm a lifelong artist. And when I say that, I have and represent so many different art styles. I was a visual artist first, graduated with creative writing from Emory. I had love for poetry, dramatic fiction, but moved on to other careers, realized that I wasn't really happy or flourishing, and found out I was so miserable that I started to teach myself everything from acting, directing, cinematography, and I'm a professional full-time videographer and editor now, which means I get to shoot and edit full-time in so many different industries as a freelance artist. So I've worked in network productions like Spartan and American Ninja Warrior, some things on Discovery Channel, all the way to doing things for nonprofit organizations here and internationally. Shout out to Collaboration, shout out to ABC Conservation in the Philippines, doing amazing work out there. I have I'm in a part of a dozen artist collectives where, for example, some of the things that we do are we all link up and work together on whatever projects come across our path. And we're realizing that as a collective versus as an individual, we can take in so much more business. And instead of double booking and saying, no, I don't have time for that, you shell out to your friends and your colleagues that you support and believe in, and they do the same for you. And that's how I've existed for the last 5 years, is specifically living off of and with and alongside of amazing collectives. And we all push each other. And one of my friends, David Huang of Angle 3, will say, it's like calling it Voltron. He's like, why would you go out there and fight one-on-one, or 1 against 15 when you can call your own 15 up to the plate and form something even greater and bigger than what you could be? And that's how I've flourished as an artist and have continued to do so, mentoring others. I have a lot of friends and Polyvisuals, the whole crew have followed my path as my friends, some of my best friends, and they inspired me at the same time. And now they shoot internationally. Some of them make more money than I do. Miko, for example, is an international DJ, and she was inspired by my path as well, and I continue to be inspired by her. So it's a give and take. It's never, Mark might be, my elder from the past, but here we are also sharing knowledge with one another. And that's how this goes with any of the relationships that we'll have in life.
Yeah, I love the idea of reciprocity here. I'm just gonna jump right the fuck into this, dude. I've definitely heard this sort of camp that says that holding on to the values of your elders is what's going to hold you back from fully becoming yourself. Am I mistaking that, or is that something that's very real? Because here you are as a shaman, giving respect to all your elders.
Right.
But I've heard several people say that in order to move forward, it's almost like you have to, at some points, disavow the values of your elders to live in your greatest self.
Right. Well, I think as it pertains to all spiritual teaching, all cultural knowledge, there was a saying, I can't really think of who said it, but he said, the death of ingenuity, the death of creativity is stuck when you are locked in by the box of culture. And I can see that for sure, because there are old ways of thinking and there are new ways of thinking. And when we think in a universal aspect, the one constant is change. The one constant is evolution. So therefore, you must continue to evolve in your thinking. But there are things that the elders of all cultures have passed down in an effort to help people achieve certain things, certain knowledges, certain truths that hypothetically can guide them along the path. But I agree that you're not supposed to be beholden to it. There are things in Buddhism that they say, you believe, listen to the things that are said, but question everything. That's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever heard about Buddhism specifically, especially from the masters, are them saying, yes, you can listen and believe the things that I say, as long as you question everything and for yourself decide what that means for you in your life, which means you will, in essence, change the belief for yourself if you are truly intellectual, if you're truly challenging, and if you aren't just a drone. Don't be a drone, because the drones you're just going to be responding to another person's programming. And Mark and I kind of talked about that before, where some people kind of, move from one religion to another, only moving from one ism to another ism. Like, you're literally just going from one box to another box. Don't do that. Open your boxes and be aware that you can study any box and any belief style that you want with the knowledge that you can take from them, the different truths that you want, as long as you are seeking truth.
Gotcha. I called them ism jumpers. Ism jumpers, right? So you're actually just jumping from one rigid value system to another, right? And you really busted open like 8 questions in a row that I had for you, because it does seem like forging your own path and listening to quote unquote the rigid systems of elders is a very polarized thing. But also at the same time, what you're saying is it's not polarized when you take it in, you go through your own filtration system, and you question it in a way that makes sense for you, right? Man, I can't be the coyote yet, son. I'm looking for that second to be the coyote. Speaking of elders, we got Jorge, best in the world, coming to you from Puerto Rico. Oh, you're official, Kris. We got Jorge to give you a shout out. We got some love coming in from Canada. Kulas. Kuya, we are pinsans. We got the Filipinos coming through. Now we got Kelly coming in. Kelly, we'll all be elders someday. In order for your work to ultimately matter, your elders' work must also matter.
Yes.
So we can't go disavowing, and starting from scratch every single time. Kelly, let me know if I have that right. How are you feeling with Kelly's comment?
Is this Kelly Quinn?
Kelly Quinn Kilgore.
Yes. Kelly Quinn herself is a shaman and future very powerful shaman. She's definitely in her training, and I agree with that. That in a way, as one of my one of my other martial arts guru friends say, as we greet each other, we say, "What's up, future guru? What's up, future guru?" And it's because at this moment in time, imagine, let's say they call Earth the planet of children. And if we are the planet of children, that means at some point in your spiritual path, if you believe in the lives after lives after lives after lives, at some point you will eventually become a master, or you will have already been a master. But the reason why you come back is to continue in your mastery. No mastery is done, especially if you are trying to, let's say the ultimate truth is to achieve godhood, which is, the ultimate connection of reconnecting with that which is creator. And if that journey is never done, then that means we are constantly striving for something like that. But at some certain points, compared to other people in their journeys, you will be perceived as a master. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just throwing it out here. Janet Sellers is saying wow, which I think a lot of people are. Janet, is great to see you. And Janet is very advanced in terms of her knowledge of the world and the way that she's truth seeking. So it's good to have you here. Let me ask you this, Kris. And I'm going to be really, let's be really open with each other, man. We're brothers and we fight. We love each other.
Right.
And there was a time in college when I turned to you and I said, dude, get your shit together, man. Like, seriously, get your shit together, man. Right. And it wasn't because of anything dangerous, but it was because you were all over the place. You were seeking, you were trying a bunch of things. I have to admit it. I was locked into my box. And I was trying to get you to lock yourself into your box as well. Right. It wasn't until a couple years later that I understood what you were doing. You were really looking for truth in a bunch of different ways, in a multimodal, multidisciplinary way. So I have to give you props for that. But even before I met you in college, bro, what was it like to be young Kris? Did you already know some of these things that, for example, Earth is the planet of children, right? Look at me flashing it like that. Earth is the planet of children. Or even when you were in your 20s and we talked about us choosing our bodies, what was it? Was there a point where you left your traditional upbringing or sort of the upbringing of society and there was there's something else, there's something different?
Right. Let's start with young Kris, and we'll move towards the older Kris, the 20s Kris. Okay. The way I've understood it, especially in my shaman studies, is there were so many sensitivities that I believe we already had as children. And they say of children, they say like the greatest advice you can give to somebody is to maintain your childlike innocence. Because with your childlike innocence, you see the world as you're supposed to and as you're meant to, before the programming comes in and tells you, no, that you can't see this, no, you can't perceive that, no, you can't question this, no, you can't question that. The children will go to anybody and be like, hey, why are you looking like that? Why do you stay like that? And then the parents are like, no, you're not allowed to say that. But the children see it as it is. Yeah. And with that being said, as a child, I'll share some things that I've never, ever really shared. I remember looking out of my eyes and I would always hear these thoughts of a very, very old soul that would say, in these words, very calm, very collected. These are not, it's like, know that these are not your eyes, for you have seen through eyes before. These are not the first time you have seen through eyes, yet you are going to continue to see through these eyes anew. And
wait. Your little ass heard that?
And so it was between ages of, I would say, 8 and 13 that I would hear that a lot, very, very clearly. And it could be out of nowhere. I could be honest. I could literally be standing on a street corner in front of a daycare waiting for my mom or after school, and just looking out, perceiving, like sometimes if people act like they're looking out, just, they're modeling, like, like they're modeling and they're like, oh, I'm so pensive. But they're not really, they're acting. But there are times where I would enter that mode and I would just kind of doze off, gaze out, and I really would already be kind of stepping into a different realm. Like, yes, there's traffic there, but I'm not paying attention to the traffic. You're searching and seeking something else. And you kind of touched on it earlier that, yes, I believe, and this is something that I think applies to everybody, is that I think everyone is seeking. And everyone has been seeking, but specifically on my path, I didn't know the gifts or the things or the sensitivities that I had as a child were things or gifts that were meant to be, let's say, praised, raised up, used as a foundational standing point to further launch us faster and faster into our awakening. And honestly, there's certain ways that I was awakened. And I'll be brutally honest, as an elementary school kid, I was very, very, and you'll hear about this a lot, let's say, and, in the diaries of, of people in Playboy and stuff like that. They're like, oh, I was sexually aroused since I was 5. And you hear that of girls and you're like, what? That's horrible. Mm-hmm. But is it? It's, if anything, their sensitivities, their chakras were unlocked immediately, which means that was a carryover from previous lives where they were already fully awakened. And for that to cross over, that was similar to me as a child. I was already very, very awake in that aspect. I was very, when I was looking at races, let's say, people are like, oh, do you date white girls? Do you date black girls? Do you date Asian girls? As a child, I'm not trying to brag. I shit you not. I was so curious that I dated every color, every race inside my classroom because I wanted to learn more. I wanted to get to know everyone in this class. Therefore, doesn't matter what white, black, mix, Indian. It didn't matter to me.
Yeah, that's like Chris I remember in college.
and honestly, I would have to say there were certain things about cultural programming that absolutely shut off some of my chakras for the majority of my life. But
I was gonna say it seems like sometimes it seems like a lot of people are woken up with these sensitivities and then they go dark for a while.
Yes, and that's kind of what happened to me, was where I was already. I was enrolled in, as with a lot of us, we were enrolled in gifted classes. We were enrolled in creative classes that really put you on a fast track. But I already started to look at it as a child with from a very, very compassionate level. And I felt there's something wrong with that. I felt there's something wrong at any time where you uplift one student, one child over another child. And I felt a need to pull back on the creative expression that we were withholding. Let's say, because by the time we were 5, we were already acting. We were already talent. We were talented. We were award winning. We were already science Olympiad champions. We were already ranked in mythology, in various, skill testings. We were already publishing books. We were already drawing. We were already doing extremely high level creative IQ tests. And to be pulled out of classroom, only 5 people of an entire school to get to be put into a special class like this, felt actually a little backwards for me. I was like, why can't the rest of our class be open to this type of teaching when it would also benefit them and propel their lives in a very powerful way? So if anything, I really felt a disconnect between the creativity that, yes, was trying to be spurned from and cultivated in us, versus the compassion that I felt for what I believe should have been a base level offering for everybody. So if I can say that, yeah, it definitely slowed me down a little bit to want to be on my regular peers level.
Are you an empath?
I am, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing as a what are those called? Sensitive, highly sensitive person?
Right.
Is there a difference between those?
Yes, I would say so. Empaths, for those that don't know, are people, as Mark said, they are extremely sensitive, and they're extremely sensitive to the energies of other people. So if you can believe that, let's say, very, very short lesson, all of our knowledge from this life and other lifetimes obviously is passed down through DNA. That your parents, the grandparents, all the lessons that they went through are in you. Therefore, all those lessons are packed within the molecules of the DNA, which means there is a storehouse of energy that surrounds us, literally emanating around us. And anytime you interact with another person, if they were, let's say, within 8 meters, you can feel absolutely what they're feeling, what they're going through, the thoughts that they're having. If you are able to like shut your mind down, we'll talk about meditation later. If you're able to shut your own thoughts down, you literally can hear them be like, "Oh, I gotta pee. I'm so upset. I'm hungry. Fuck this guy." And you're like, "Whoa, like what's going on?" and like those aren't my thoughts, but you can hear them, and those are things that you could feel as an empath. And I don't believe any one person necessarily is not meant to be an empath. I think everybody can feel that. And that's what kind of compassion brings you to is, one, if you're not already sensitive, you build the sensitivity, you build a caring for other people to want to feel this for other people. And then as a result, your heart starts to open up, and that's where you start to feel from. It's not here that you feel it. You don't think that you hear the thoughts, you feel the thoughts. And yeah, so as a result, you will feel for other people and think about other people and hear their thoughts, but not know exactly where they're coming from.
Yeah, I wanted to throw this out really quickly because Kulas has a really cool question. And I think you partially answered it, but I really want you to explore a little bit more. But this idea that when we're kids, there's a certain knowing that we have that's kind of either shut off or suppressed. You've shared some stuff, and so I'm just going to go there and play the damn share game with you for some reason. But like, I don't know what this is, Kris. And for so many years, I've thought this is crazy talk. But like, I see it showing up in my show. When I was a little kid, I felt like I could hear the thoughts or knew the answers of people. And so instead, I called it playing dumb for a long period of time, right? And so I could hear what the person wanted to come across and say or what they were about to realize. And instead of telling it to them, I just wait for them to say it so that they could be like, yo, what did I just come up with? And like, it was just such a non-game to me, like to be right, that it was more fun to just wait and see them come about. And then that shut off for a while. And like, I'm seeing it come, like I told you even before the show, I'm like, I'm going to play Coyote with you and stuff. Like, I'm seeing that coming across as a skill. Would you say that that's something that's a part of the wisdom of the child?
Right. The pre-knowing of things. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say like, but I would say like a lot of the difference between how guys and girls are raised, girls are already, because of the engendering, girls are already raised to be more compassionate, to be more social, to be more caring, to be more emotional. As a result, their empathy and their insight and their instincts from the womb, that instinctual aspect to be able to read other people is so much more heightened than in guys, which means in guys they're like, oh, don't be emotional, don't be this and that, which means that gets closed off.
Yeah, I was a sensitive 90s man. I was emo. But
we both were.
Yeah, we were. So I think anyone who's watching, if you care to share, like, what were some of those I don't know if proclivities is the word, but like, what were some of the things that were coming up when you were a child that you thought were either crazy or things that you had heard that now you realize maybe that was a part of my inner wisdom coming forward, right? I want, and as you're typing that in, whether it be live or on the replay, I wanted to throw this out by Brother Kulas. How would you know if you are one? And that was in reference to an empath. How do you know?
Right. So I would say a Kulas, or for anybody that has practice, I would say meditation is definitely a very, very big one first. because you need to be able to quiet your mind and your own thoughts and your own anxieties to differentiate between what you're feeling versus what somebody else is feeling. For example, if you're having a great day and you're driving through traffic and all of a sudden you're bombarded with all of these emotions of panic, worry, stress, anger, and it's not coming from you, then guess what? You're an empath, because you are literally taking on the energy of thousands of people that your past energies that you're passing through, and you can't control it. So for one, everyone's going to feel that, but are you going to feel it in a way that you can actually pay attention to the thoughts, and do the thoughts actually mean something to you? For instance, like, are you going to feel it, and are you just going to be scared by it, or are you going to feel it and want to like dance with it, let it flow through you? Or are you going to want to feel it and revert love to it? Like, how you respond to all these emotions kind of changes what your role is as you as you flow through in general.
Yeah, Kris, let me see if this is a palpable example that in Kulas as well, and everybody watching. What a good show, by the way. I was flying from LA.
My mom just came in.
I know. I saw you, Pia. Good to see you, Auntie. I hope the Filipino speeches went well for you. I was flying from LA to Atlanta this weekend, and everybody was dressed in Rams, Super Bowl jerseys, and it was a 4-hour flight. People were drinking, and like when I got off the flight, I felt like I wanted to punch somebody. Like I felt aggressive,
right?
And I was thinking about it. I'm like, why am I feeling so aggressive right now? Mm-hmm. And this is what I rationalized, but it could be it, or it could be something else, Mr. Shaman. Mm-hmm. See, I'm getting aggressive now with you. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt like I had taken on the aggro of the people who were like jabbing at each other for those 4 hours, even though I had headphones on. I heard them talking with each other. When I would look, I could see the body positions of people. It's like I could hear them wanting to fight each other in my brain.
Right.
And then it took me like 10 minutes to just be like, let me just sit down and have a cup of Coke or a Coke. And think about why I'm so pissed off right now. And it wasn't that I was pissed off. I felt like I had taken on the attitude of the plane. Is that things that folks go through?
Everyone. I feel like everyone definitely goes through that, and they can't explain it. So I've definitely played with that in a very, very, like, when I say like play with fire, like I've done very, very deep meditations on planes. To the point where if I tell other people who have done certain types of spiritual journeys or have worked with plant teachers, I've done it on a plane to a point where I've received such amazing spirit messages that come across like this. And this is the voice. And I'll say, like, as a channeler, I'm a writer. I'm a visual artist. So a lot of my spirit channeling comes through our art form. And I have journals where I've done that on the plane, and the spirit knowledge that has flown through has said something specifically like this. And pardon me for disconnecting. The spirit knowledge has said, how interesting is it that you as humans are able to fly in a technology that launches you from one point of the world to another, yet there are those of you which have the audacity to complain about anything using this amazing technology, just because you have to wait 30 minutes on a tarmac. So with that being said, like, I'm hearing that and I'm like, I stand up and I'm like, oh my gosh, does anybody like hear this? And I'm laughing. And
wait, how are you hearing this? Are you clairaudient?
So it's more clairsentient. So it's an inner voice. So I'm not, nobody is speaking to me. It's an inner voice that comes through. And as a result, the knowledge that's shared it says that you can feel and have compassion for all of them, but you don't have to emanate that out. Let it flow through you, and you're like, okay, I understand that they're going to be stressed out. Why not put down a calming energy? Put down a calming energy, and that calming energy will end up reflecting. Imagine putting out a force field around you, but it ends up putting out a force field that resonates a vibration that can maintain your own peace of mind.
Okay, now you're talking woo-woo talk, son.
Right. So,
but woo-woo talk.
It's peace of mind. It's peace of mind that their anxieties can't affect you. So I've tried this on international flights, where I'll sit there and just meditate, and you'll hear the crying babies, you'll hear everybody upset. But if you're sitting there in bliss, it doesn't matter what they're feeling, because
joy.
Right. So being in your joy and in your comfort and in your own mind allows you to not be affected by it. It'll still flow. But you're not fighting it. You're not taking it on. It's just there.
So what changes are you seeing on the plane as a result of going into the bliss and joy?
Well, I would say that you don't, instead of being so aware of that energy affecting you, you're traveling in your own right. So in my mind, I'm already like, so for instance, for those that are shamans and know about some really, really deep meditations, I'm sure everyone has heard of guided meditations. I'll do guided meditations. And while everyone else is stressing out, I'm already in such a relaxed state of mind. I'm already doing guided meditations, to meet, spirit ancestors or see previous lives, while they're just stressed out. And I was like, listen, like, I'm going to meditate and have an amazing time. And by the time the plane's taking off, I'm already crying. So it's like, I'm not here to stress out about these worldly things. I'm excited, for one, to be able to travel to another part of the world, another part of the country. So if anything, I feel like a lot of people are so unaware of how much energy is around them that they can't handle it. But you can take that energy and hone it inwards, and it actually will propel you to such a greater height in your meditations.
Okay, let's talk about a couple things. You're lighting some people up here. Herman, woo-woo talk is the best thing. Bring it on. I see you, Mercury. I just can't get you on the screen. Pia, love you, Tita. It's good to see you. Always thinking of you. Evie, I would get messages in my dreams.
Right.
Getting messages in their dreams.
Right.
Saint X Bree, Chris V, I'm in the building, yo. We're seeing some love from Ashton. Ashton, duck sauce.
Woo!
You remember duck sauce, yo? We're talking about
the
Inspire movement, son.
Let's go.
We were like dressed in luau clothes back in the day. I mean, you talk about vibration, son.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let me ask you this, Chris. You talked about it, but you also, I also wanted to, in the pre-show, I also wanted to talk to you about it. Receiving messages. Receiving messages. And like, you've already stated that you've been receiving these messages since you were a child, right? But it sounds like you're receiving them at a rate in which you can almost ask now and interact.
Yes.
It's not just one in which you relax the focus and then it comes in.
Right.
So talk to me about that, and talk to me about what you're receiving.
Right. So absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, let me answer the dreams aspect. So when you receive knowledge in dreams, which, I mean, where do you go when you're dreaming? You're literally stepping into other realms. You're stepping into other dimensionalities. When you're dreaming, DMT is released from the pineal gland, which allows you as a portal gateway to transcend the physical realm. So people are like, oh, it's just a dream. No, it's not. You're being contacted by previous loved ones, your previous pets, your people that ancestors that are trying to share messages with you. And so if there are people whose specific gifts, especially like in the Native Americans, they have certain tribes who their talent is specifically prophetic dreams. And that's not all the tribes. Everyone has different gifts. But as a result, so I would say, yes, I didn't actively receive messages my entire life. I'll kind of glance over what you wanted me to talk about earlier was talking about young adult Chris, who was constantly seeking. So I was definitely constantly seeking. And when I say I was constantly seeking, I was constantly seeking something so hard that throughout my 20s, I was living 5 lives at once. I was taking grad classes. I was working full time. I was working in a nonprofit. I was starting my own freelance, and I was still having a social life, partying every night because I wanted to experience something. But really, I was searching for something, and the things that I was searching for, I wouldn't find until I later embarked on my spiritual journey, which I believe truly started in 2008. And with that being said, that all started with a really, really powerful spiritual download that I could not explain, being in Bolivia of all places. So imagine being 13,000 feet above sea level in the thin air of the Andes in Lake Titicaca, Bolivia, with some of your best friends, and I'm receiving messages and knowledge that when I came back and I told my anthropology professor the things that I had learned, she was flabbergasted. And so some of the messages that I learned, when I talk about receiving, this was the first powerful message that I ever received that had nothing to do with me asking or questioning. You know how people say you put on your thinking cap? I was in Bolivia for 2 to 3 weeks, and I never took my thinking cap off, which completely changed my life to say, why, if you're going to put on your creative self or step into your creative self, what's the point of ever stepping out of that? So that was one major message that I came back with. The message that I received was, when you're thinking about finding a balance in your lives, think about all of the different types of selves and personalities and archetypes that coexist within you at any one time. All of these archetypes that people think about, that people write about, people dream about, they all exist within you simultaneously, and they're all simultaneously screaming for energy, for attention, for release, for expression. And and that explains a lot of people's discontent, people's loss, feelings of loss, their feelings of lack. And coming back and explaining that to an anthropology professor, she's like, how the heck did you figure that out in 2 weeks? She's like, I've been an anthropology professor for 2 decades, and I'm still trying to figure out what that means. And I was like, listen, I don't know what it means right now, but I was like, but it's so powerful that I believe that this is going to impact the rest of my creative and my spiritual journey for my life to come. And that was 10 years ago. And so so I was going to say, when I say in receiving messages, I paid attention to the voices that were sharing something like that. And I'll go in and answer you very, very directly. When it comes to spirit messages, another very powerful message that I received was, one, spirit is so patient, will be the most patient, like the patience of a mother that truly, truly, truly loves you and is so patient with you that no matter how many times you ask a question, it will answer you. But its metaphor is like this. If you have questions in life, imagine a Google search bar. They go, we are no different than a Google search bar. And we will sit here with a Google search bar and the cursor doing this, waiting for you. And it's going to flash. And as you're seeking and as you're searching, it's only going to do this. And a Google search bar will never answer your question until you've actually put a question in. And so once you put something in, then it has a prompt to answer you. And that leads into into how you proceed about receiving messages is you put out a question. And,
okay.
and that, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it's basic communication, right? Communication 101 right now.
Right.
You put out the sender puts out a message, the message is interpreted, and the sender receives the message, right? So you're just basically saying, put out the message.
Yes.
Like you can write it, you can say it, you can say it in your head.
Yes.
Right? You can pray it on your knees.
Right.
Okay, you can go to Bolivia and jump off a...
There's a difference. They talk about it in the different aspects of the different religions. There's a difference between prayer. There's a difference between meditation. There's a difference between, asking. Sometimes when people pray, which this isn't knocking to say one is better than the other, but sometimes people pray externally, hoping that something can be put on their path. But if in hoping or in praying externally, they're not actually calling it into their path. They're hoping that situations can arise versus
it sounds like a wish.
Right. Versus
they're making a wish.
They're making a wish, but they may not fully believe. There are prayers that can fully believe it, which is the ones that combine it, where they're like, okay, I will pray externally and internally that this will come into existence. Therefore, I am asking for this. Therefore, I am asking this into existence. And that's the times where you have the spiritual healings, the spiritual guidance, the actual miracles, manifestation comes to being.
I got a question then. Are you asking, are you communicating with an internal or an external God?
Both.
What are you talking about, both?
It's both, because what's a membrane? There's no membranes. There's no separation. There's no boundaries when it comes to that which is spirit or esoteric. Boundaries, Trump, don't exist. There's no such thing as a boundary that you would put up. The idea of the white picket fences that separate you from your neighbors is an old modality that's going to get rid, that's going to be gone. The idea of community aspect of membranes that interact within one another is a universal thing that needs to be accepted. And as a result, there are no boundaries of an internal or external God. It just is, regardless of where you're looking.
So then you're sending the message. I'm not saying internal or external. You're sending the message, one in which it's not an empty hope, but a message in which you have essentially, you know, you're going to get the answer, because that's the way it works. You type into Google, you get the answer, right?
Right.
Now let's go to the receiving end.
Yeah. Okay.
What does it?
Well, I was gonna say first off,
crazy here.
I was gonna say first off, when it comes to the message that you're sending out, for everybody that don't know the specifics, it's okay. Be patient. Start macro. You start, and that's the same when it comes to manifesting. Start from a macro perspective and be like, okay, well, I don't really know what I want, but let's say I kind of know, and you just put in, I'm curious about dance. I don't know what dance style that I want, but I know I like dance. Start there, and then the message
even more macro is, what's up?
Right. I mean,
what should I do next?
Right. Well, see, I agree with that, because that's actually one of the check-ins that I do very often. It'll be as simple as, Spirit, am I on the right path? Done. Put it out there and just wait for a response. And I have something very, very, this is a little bit scolding, I will say, as a lover of living beings. There are a lot of people out there, and this applies to everybody, and everybody, including myself, has been guilty of this. There are so many people who will say, oh, woe is me, I'm so lonely, and I wish that I had company. And Spirit, can you show me that that there's a living being that can love me? And guess what? Within seconds, what appears? A bug. And guess what you do? Meow. Done. And well, you're not going to be judged for that, but you literally were answered. A cockroach came by, a fly came by to visit. They're like, hey, you called? And it's fine.
So the spirit of personality is spirit standing there like, absolutely, you dumb shit.
Well, everything that we're taught, the funniest thing I've ever heard is that spirit definitely has a sense of humor. So you do have to be specific with what you're questioning, and if you're not, it's going to answer you in the way that you asked. For instance, it
draws no inferences. It's like, you got to be specific, bro.
If you say something like, I once said, hey, Spirit, I like so-and-so.
Hey, Spirit.
And I go, I like so-and-so, but I just met so-and-so, and I like her too. And I go, and I wasn't specific. And I go, Spirit, I'm so curious what would happen with so-and-so and so-and-so. I shit you not, within months, they're dating. And they're dating and are still together, and I loved it. But like, when I found out, I was laughing, crying hysterically for 10 minutes, because I already knew Spirit had a sense of humor. There was one time I was at a friend's wedding, and I did the check-in. You know, I'm standing on a balcony and I'm looking down, and it's in North Georgia, and I'm looking at the mountains, and beneath me is like 3 stories down is a forest line. And I go, Spirit, you know, I just spent the morning meditating. Please tell me that I'm on the right path. The second I finish my thoughts, I'm looking down at the forest line. Some type of bug between the size of a big fly and a dragonfly, I shit you not, flies in a straight line from the tree line and goes straight right into my third eye, hits me in the middle of the head. Literally, I shit you not, hits me in the middle of the head the second I finish my sentence. And I go, okay, very funny, Very funny. Very funny. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I would say that it was the ayahuasca, but I've had a few things happen of my own. Kris, I don't know if you know this, but I've said it a couple times on the show. When I was in grad school, it was my 30th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I was by myself. I hated grad school. I was writing a paper. And like I was questioning Catholicism. We could talk about that later. But I was questioning Catholicism. And I remember saying, if there's any fucking person out there, like I need to know right now, more than any other time, I need to know right now that I'm not by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning bolt went from my toes through my head, like literally, like it was over. It was over. I was like, cool, I'm good. I'm good. I'm right. And I felt a humor in it. Like I felt a playfulness. And from that point on was when I really let my playfulness come out at work. Like you remember when I first started work, it was all about wearing my suit, like blah, 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 multicultural. Yeah. Blah. And then when we closed the door, you and I would play. And then it was after that like, I was like, it's really coming out. Kyle Stewart, we see you, bro. Dude, yes. My dream recall is too strong at times.
Right.
What should Kyle Stewart be doing about his dream recall that's too strong?
He knows. So Kyle has been one of my close friends for the longest time. And that's actually one of his strengths, is his ability to travel within his dreams and to recall them has only increased exponentially over the past decade, especially. He's been there every step of the way during my spirit journey, and I've been trying to cultivate him as well in his. And that's what I mean is that there are some people who in the waking life are like, oh, I have no gifts, but when they're asleep, they are fucking flying. They're controlling their dreams. And there is a saying so there's two sayings that I will say. One from the Native Americans. They say it's flipped. They go, what we perceive as the waking life is the dream state, and our real life is the dream state. So theirs is flipped. And in the Buddhist culture, they say, if you are able to truly awaken in the dream state, means that you are truly awakened. Therefore, if you are to bring that to your understanding of death, when you go to approach death, bring that same mentality, and it will flow just the same. And so they say, therefore, do not fear death, because you are only transitioning from one state to another in the same way you would in a dream.
Ashton, we're hearing what you're talking about with the dream state. Speaking of blast from the past, Joy Tolentino is up in here. Joy, it's good to see you, Mama. I don't know where's Joy now? Atlanta,
she's in the Bay.
San Francisco?
She's in the Bay.
You're back in the Bay. Nice.
Bay to the A.
Joy, if you're in LA, come on down to LA. I got this thing called an In-N-Out burger. I'm gonna teach you something. Biggest thing I realized is that at the end of the day, we really don't know anything about our world, and we simply aren't around long enough to figure it out. That being said, what Valeriano is saying is centered around an assumption that is pretty solid in my book, that of intangible energy and feelings, which we all definitely experience but cannot really measure.
Right.
Yeah. Ashton, hit me up. Come on the show in a bit.
Yeah, Ashton is definitely – so Ashton's been the same. Ashton's been one of my close friends alongside of Joy and Kyle, and we too have mirrored a lot of our awakening side by side with each other. Unfortunately, Ashton moved away before I really pursued shamanism, but he and I were always there, like neck and neck, having these conversations in altered states of consciousness, mind you. And it's always been an amazing thing. I see Cordon I'm not sure if he left or okay, he's still there. Good.
It's Be Live. They know I'm leaving my contract. Those fuckers.
Just making sure. But yeah,
you can keep going.
Yes, but one of the amazing things that so I will say that there's been an overarching message that I've been receiving for the better part of the last decade, and it does have to do with the message that Ashton put up. And so there's a fallacy that is explained that says that every time that you live and die, you do not recall the things from your past life. That's something that is going to be definitely addressed and changed from here moving forward, and already has been. Because you have to imagine that within each lifetime, you come back with certain gifts.
Oh, yeah.
That means that you are maintaining and retaining some of the knowledge innately and esoterically within that you have cultivated from many, many lifetimes. So it's not true that you don't remember the things from a last lifetime. You may not remember specifics, but when you come into this lifetime a prodigy, when you come into this lifetime talented in multiple gifts that you can't explain, that's because it came from a previous lifetime. Therefore, it means that in this lifetime, those many talents that you have are meant to be further cultivated. And you've already come into this lifetime with another foundation that's meant to be escalated in this one. I see Mark is a little bit blacked out here. So I'm going to keep going until I see him come back. With that being
said, see me?
Okay, it was blacked out, so I wasn't sure if you had fully left. So
it's all good. I'm gonna throw a couple things on here, like
yes,
hooked on the episode, non-duality, Melanie, no boundaries, all universal. Kulas, I'm so hooked on this episode. He had to put it twice. Melanie screaming, Kris Cruz Valeriano is the man. The Joy Revolution.
Namaste, Melanie.
Evie, I love everything about this episode. Joy, I love y'all so much. Joy, we love you too. I miss you, Joy. Keep shining, y'all. Y'all are giving me life right now. Y'all are giving me life right now.
Right.
Kris, I wanted to ask you this. We're gonna bring you back.
Okay.
We're gonna bring you back, and we might have to turn this around and be an episodic thing with you and I, son.
Let's go.
It might have to be the Kris and Mark podcast at some point.
Right.
Melanie might rein me in here.
Yes.
But I wanted to throw this out to you right now, man. Do what you need to do, channel whatever. What is it that at this point in time that is either the biggest secret or that the biggest shrouded thing that the world needs to know that we don't accept or don't know?
Okay, all right, so I can answer that very, very poignantly. Everyone, we talked about it earlier about perceiving an external God. And even just recently, one of the most powerful messages that I've received is focusing on what it means to be God realized, self-actualized, as God internal. Unfortunately, those that are of the many different religions will put limitations upon their relationship between God and themselves. They'll put a person between them and God. They'll put acts of servitude, guilt, different ways that they had to act in order to receive love from God. And that's all fine as long as they're seeking truth. But the biggest thing that I believe is the separating point is when you will see in so many different religions, people fight you when you say that, what if I don't need to look externally to God? What if I need to look internally for God? And some people will fight you tooth and nail. But for me, I will say, listen, you take out a piece of the ocean from the ocean. And if all of the creation is the ocean and we are a piece of that ocean, that same ocean, why would God not be in our drop of the ocean? And if that's the case, look at every soul that is living as pieces and droplets of that same ocean. Therefore, every soul that you encounter is Buddha, is God, is the result of the love of Jesus. It doesn't matter which prophet, which master you learn from. They are still resonating that which is creator, which is source. And if that's the case, then God is in everything and within ourselves. And therefore, if you're looking within yourself and you have found yourself, then you no longer are seeking. You're not seeking something. You're not seeking fulfillment of anything, because now you're just here to experience. And I would say that I have this as one of my mottos. This is the lifetime of the ages. And like live this lifetime. Don't live it that like, oh, tomorrow's another day type of aspect. Today is the day. Today is your best day. The next day will be the next best day. People are like, oh, my favorite year was my 26th year. I was like, are you kidding me? Every year is my favorite year. Every memory is like, you're moving from favorite memory to favorite memory if you are living in like that type of connection and love with yourself, especially. So I believe that the loving of the internal God self is the most important thing that can be shared and taught to people, which means you have to love yourself the most. One of the things that my mom does and I think is the most beautiful thing anybody can do is when she looks in the mirror every day, she goes, "Oh, hello, beautiful. Hello, beautiful." and everyone's like, "Right, hello, hi, beautiful." And other people will look at that like, "Oh, you're so narcissistic." But no, when you're doing that, you are truly appreciating from the window of your eyes, the windows of your soul, to yourself, saying, "Hi, beautiful. You are beautiful," and your soul will reflect exactly the energy that you're putting out. If you wake up and you're like, "Oh, fuck, another day," like your body's gonna be like, "Oh, I gotta live another day. I'm so sad." and that's the energy that's gonna be put out. It will reflect the love and energy that you're putting out because that's what you're saying you deserve to be reflecting.
Son, I had to wow face my own show with that. Hit the wow face, everybody. That was sweet. For those of you who are just tuning in right now, you're gonna watch this one again.
Yes. Very
special episode. Long time, multiple soul friends reconnecting as always. Kris and I just talking life. Share this out if you're feeling this right now, y'all. We're using social media for social good. Pia, hey, don't reveal my secret. Don't reveal my secret. Joy also struggled with Catholicism. Maybe one day we can come in and we can talk about rigid dogma versus where you're coming from. And also the struggles of the Filipino. Mark
knows that. Mark could do a whole dissertation.
Yeah, the struggles of the Filipino. We can also talk about my belief that I think the Philippines is one of the big epicenters when it comes to energy. But we can talk about that later. Kris, you're literally punching me in the gut. Look at these wow faces rolling out. Herman, Saint X, Evie, Kulas, Val throwing this out. Papa showed up. If Mama's gonna go down, Papa's gonna show up. Kris's dad here. I credit this all. What Kris is sensitive to is credited to our family's sensitivity to the unseen dimension, which is unexplainable. Tune into the feelings. Dito, thank you so much. And viva la revolution, baby. If you haven't heard, you will in March. The revolution is coming, and Kris is our freaking shaman. He doesn't put the shaman. Let me tell you that. He puts the shaman ding dong in shaman. Kris, we are going to have you back. But what I want to do right now is in the show notes, you can see Kris's work on YouTube. You can see his Instagram. You can see his LinkedIn. I can assure you there's more stuff coming through with this thing called the Joy Revolution. Kris is going to be here for the long haul, baby. And it's great to be reconnected. We talked about it on the phone. There's something there that we knew a couple years ago that is coming full circle now, Kris. And it's wonderful to be a part of this ride with you. My friend, you know why this is called the Golden Mic.
Right.
So here we go, son. Clear the mind again. Empty it out so that the vessel can be ready. The Golden Mic is coming down from the ceiling right now. And what the power of this Golden Mic has is that it translates into every language all across the world. The world is listening to what you have to channel, to what you have to say. The world wants to know what's going on, Kris. So when I flip the Golden Mic, you're going to be live and you can say whatever it is that you want to the world. Kris Valeriano, your Golden Mic is live now.
So I talked about it a lot about the whole idea of loving the God that is external and internal. But let me share a poem that kind of collects a lot of the various life lessons and spirit lessons that I've learned. These are only some of them, but these are some of the very, very, very important ones. And at the end, I will share something extremely, extremely powerful. But it goes something like this: aligning with path, messages from spirit. Feel fullest potential. Guide others lovingly on their journeys yet to come. Love of God is like that of mother's love. Touch within to feel God. Step into fullest self. God realized you won. With that being said, there's so many messages that are in that impacted within that. There's so many messages within this entire Golden Mic. please feel free to break it down, go through anything that gives you a spark in your spine, the chills in the back of your neck, the hairs that raise. That is a sign that your soul is affirming something that it already knew or that it recognized, and step into that. There is a very, 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 very beautiful and powerful thing that I learned, and this was while on ayahuasca, and it was so simple. The message was, you need to seek no further than that of your own fingers. You see this a lot in mudras, in prayers. You need seek no further than the very tips, the sensitivity of your fingers, to know that God is right here within you, wanting to touch you and love you in the same way that you're wanting to reach out and love someone else. You don't need to touch someone else. You can touch and give love right here in the space between the sensitivity of your own fingers, to know that is God wanting to touch you and love you just the same. And if you can imagine that in your most lonely of times, try that and see what love send it out and send it back to yourself. And you will see how your heart beats, how your heart calms, how your emotions well up, how anxiety disappears. Like you'll see this in many cultures, and there's a reason for it. And it's not just because they're like, oh, this is a secret mudra. They're like, no, they're sharing things with you. They're sharing that it's as simple as touching your own skin, touching your own body, that this is God wanting to touch you just the same. So if there's anything that I could share, is know that you can give the love of God to yourself. And if you can truly believe that, you don't need to find love from someone else in that same aspect. Yes, the love from others can compound your love, and your love will be greater by those that you fall in love with and love that is around you. But know that you must love yourself first and foremost.
Kris, I want you to hold out that golden mic right now, man. Now I want you to smash that golden mic like it's hot, son. Explode it so somebody else can pick it up.
Let's go.
Oh, love it. Kris, we're going to have you back. Keep in touch with them. It's all in the show notes, man. Share this one out. This one was a very special one. Love you, brother. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
And now this is the thing, y'all. This is for everybody. It's been 117 episodes of this show. We're going to keep doing more because you can't cancel me. And so for everybody watching, if you're feeling good and you're living life in full meaning, the question that Kris and I have to you is, what is your responsibility to change history for the better? We will see you again very soon. Keep rocking.
Hello.